My name is Tarmack, and this is your Game Industry News Wrap-Up for the week of October 28th, 2017. Our lead story of the week, Studio Wildcard has added Microtransaction DLC to ARK Survival Evolved. The studio had previously claimed that no microtransaction items, whether cosmetic or otherwise, would ever be added to the game. However, I'm going to throw them a dinosaur-sized bone here and say that what the developer posted on Reddit regarding this situation matches other information I've been told in the past. Interacting with the retail brick-and-mortar environment does come with its fair share of complications. Various retail stores demand exclusive content that they can sell via pre-order in order to be considered for space on store shelves, and the number of publishers who still bother with retail releases is steadily shrinking as time goes on. It was quite refreshing to hear, quote, "To get into the retail stores, it's an uphill battle and we have to make some deals we don't want to do to receive the support," end quote. He went on to say that after an exclusive retail period, they are required to make the skins available as DLC to all players, which cannot be free, as that would disrupt the whole point of exclusives to the retail shop. So I have to give some props to Wildcard on this one. Sometimes the business world sucks and you've got to do what you've got to do. That said, take it with a grain of salt. This is the same company who thought it was totally fine to release a paid expansion to a game that was still in early access, which is as ethical in my view as a friend asking for more money after not paying back the last loan you gave and posting pictures on Facebook of their recent trip to Hawaii. Valve is continuing to make changes to the Steam platform that are moving things in the right direction. This week they launched Steam digital gift cards, so now instead of getting up and going outside to buy a Steam gift card from your local grocery store, you can do it in your underwear sitting at home. There's also been some discussion about upcoming quality of life improvements being made to the curator system, which will allow curators to better manage their profiles, which have been pretty static since the system was initially introduced. While you can't use your own in-account wallet to purchase these digital gift cards, I'm sure the hands of G2A and various Steam key trading platforms are sweaty with anticipation of how this will totally be mostly used by family and friends just wanting to gift Steam credit to each other. In a remarkable turn of negative events, players of Destiny 2 on PC were getting hit with bans from the game that were entirely because of various overlays, screen capture programs, and even Discord. Some folks were even reporting bans because of the NVIDIA overlay, which does screen capture. It's a piece of software included with your video card driver from a company who Bungie partnered with for Destiny 2 code giveaways. This stuff writes itself. Bungie has since resolved these issues as they were all related to what can only be described as an overenthusiastic anti-cheat system. You could say that Bungie has bounced back from this controversy. Despite concerns over the past few weeks about overreaching from game publishers via microtransactions and loot boxes in single-player games, market research group NPD has claimed that these controversies have had no obvious effect on the game industry. Citing ongoing sales numbers, an NPD analyst told GamesIndustry.biz that while numbers for October weren't available yet, other loot box games from the last few months have shown no decline in the sales as a result. It's worth mentioning both that NPD will have very little if any data on the microtransactions themselves, and also that it's hardly a surprise that an online game-related controversy didn't result in widespread panic, as the vast majority of gamers don't follow game news and simply don't care. According to a lead developer working for Machine Games, Wolfenstein 2 focuses on the single-player experience entirely, and that, quote, "having a multiplayer component in this work process would just dilute it all," end quote. In an era where studios like Visceral are closed down to pivot single-player titles into the games-as-a-service model, it's a very positive thing for some studios and publishers to be focusing on those of us who really want more single-player experiences. Say what you want about Bethesda, but as a publisher, they're definitely putting more effort into these sorts of things than many others. The unfortunate part is that a lot of those single-player games they've released in the last while have sold poorly. So it's a worthwhile endeavor to consider that, at least in my view, this kind of ongoing support for the solo gamer should be encouraged. With any luck, Wolfenstein 2 will sell an immense number of copies before Bethesda is forced to include a Baby Soother DLC or develop a Nazi card game spin-off. And finally, the uplifting game story of the week. Ninja Theory, the developers of Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, had expected that their game would break even somewhere between 6 and 9 months after release, based on the marketing research done prior. As it turns out, the game has effectively broken even already, just 3 months after release. While that may not be a situation you would expect to be good enough for a massive budget game in the AAA space, for a smaller studio with a smaller budget that was self-published, it's a great sign that, to abuse an only semi-existent term, the AA market has some real potential. I've made claims that AAA didn't need microtransactions to stay alive. They just needed a larger number of smaller budget games, and I think Hellblade shows how that is a perfectly viable strategy. What I would like to see going forward is publishers like CD Projekt Red and Devolver Digital get into this market. CDPR is effectively just a publisher for their own games, and Devolver, they tend to focus on retro pixel art with great gameplay kinds of titles. I think both are in an excellent position where they could assist in the funding of more visually stunning titles, and then we could really see whether this mid-tier market can give results. I'm hopeful and confident that it can. Your upcoming game releases for the week of October 29th to November 4th are as follows. It's a quiet week for new releases, but on October 31st, a self-described physics sandbox game called Spintires MudRunner releases on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. MudRunner is the follow-up to the indie game Spintires, which puts the player behind the wheel of a wide variety of all-terrain vehicles. Their sales pitch is in the realism of the game and how the vehicles make it through some pretty nasty terrain. I'm not sure where the game part is, but the trailer looks oddly satisfying. So now, you too can experience the immense frustration of being stuck without ever leaving the house. And on November 3rd, Battlefield Competition comes back with a vengeance in the release of Call of Duty World War II. COD WW2 is developed by the Sledgehammer team and will let players experience the horrors of war all over again. Quote, "From the beaches of Normandy to the Hurtgen Forest, experience a dramatic story highlighting some of the most dramatic and iconic moments of World War II as a young soldier who is facing the unforgiving reality of war alongside his brothers in arms." End quote. Yes, they clearly ran out of buzzwords and used dramatic twice in a single sentence in official marketing material. The game does look great, as you would expect, though I must admit, I'm not entirely convinced that marketing World War II as a nostalgia trip is the most appropriate tactic. Either way, the game hits PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One on November 3rd. This has been your Game Industry News Wrap-Up for the week of October 28th, 2017. Upcoming on the channel, we have the return of the Gnomecast next weekend on November 4th. Tune in live to twitch.tv/Tarmack Gaming at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for what should be about a 2-hour podcast talking about the game industry and the hobby that we all know and love. And after the podcast, I will be streaming for what will probably turn into an inordinate amount of time. November 4th, as it turns out, is also the Extra Life Game Day, where folks of all makes and models will be playing games for charity, so I'm going to be taking part in that as well. I talked about my favorite games a bit during the recent Q&A, which will be uploaded to YouTube on Monday, and so I think there's a good chance I'll be playing Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger for Extra Life. My name is Tarmack. Thanks for watching.